Hi, good morning. So today we will look at Once Upon an Elephant by Bosede, Ademilua-Afolayan. The text launches us into a discussion on African drama. That means that before we actually start talking about the text, we need to have some background information touching African drama. To have some background information touching African drama. So African drama refers to the drama that captures the sensibilities of the African people, its culture, its values and norms, tradition, its struggles and history. African drama is mostly written by African authors, but they can also be written by outsiders as far as their work is about Africa. As far as the work is about Africa and expresses African sensibilities, then it can be considered as African drama, despite the fact that the author might not be from Africa. So what actually qualifies a work to be an African literature is that it is about Africa. It's about African history, the struggles of Africans, the culture of Africans, the cultural values of Africans, right? The authorship might be African or otherwise. Now, we must differentiate between modern African drama and pre-colonial drama, pre-colonial African drama. Modern African drama is written. Modern African drama is written. Whereas pre-colonial African drama mostly existed in oral form. Meaning it was not necessarily written down. It was captured in the oral tradition of the people. And this oral form, it must be understood, is the substance of the African drama. It's actually what makes African drama African. So the idea of a written drama for Africa came because of the colonial encounter. The idea of the written African drama mostly became possible because of the colonial encounter. That is the incidence of colonialism. Colonialism made it possible for us to have the kind of drama that we term modern drama today, which is written down. But in pre-colonial drama. We are talking about drama that is captured in our oral tradition, as storytelling as performance, our rituals, our dances, our songs and chants. Our dances, our rituals, masquerades, ancestor worship. All these are aspects of African drama. So, when the colonial masters came, they brought the written tradition from Europe and influenced the stage in Africa. And that explains why our drama is in this form today. This is modern African drama, it is written. But it remains African drama because when you look at what it captures the African essence. It makes use of African oral tradition, though in a written form. So what we are saying is that because the substance of the modern African literature remains oral, all right, based on African experience, based on African oral tradition, then that still makes it African drama. And even the idea of portraying the African landscape and language in this drama text is to counter the colonialist idea that Africa did not have culture and literature before the advent of the colonial project. So when you read a play like Once Upon an Elephant, you will see what makes the play, or those things that make the play distinctively African. So that's what you need to note about African drama. Mostly, the writers write to counter the beliefs that the colonial masters made about us. The fact that we did not have a culture, did not have a tradition, that they were the ones who brought us culture and tradition. And most of these authors, by the way they use language, by the stories they tell, try to counter these ideas by the colonial masters to show that Africa had its own culture and tradition, its own civilization before the coming of the colonial masters. Okay. So again, I have notes on Once Upon an Elephant on my website. I will also share it on the platform later, in case you want to go along with me. So it was published in 2015. That was published in 2015. The author is Bosede Ademilua-Afolayan. The author is a woman, a scholar, an intellectual. He's a lecturer in the Department of English, University of Lagos. At least that is the information that we get from there. From the book. She might still be there, she might not still be there, but she's associated with the Department of English. She has worked with the Department of English, University of Lagos. She has written other plays, which you'll find if you read the notes on the website. Now, the background to this play is that it is written against the background of poor leadership and dictatorship in Africa. One of the signs of poor leadership in Africa is, one of the signs of bad leadership in Africa is dictatorship. The tendency for people to hold on to power by all means without ever thinking of leaving, and in the cause of that, oppressing the people, taking all the decisions without consulting anyone and oppressing anyone who wants to say something different, who criticizes the government. Okay? So the subject matter of this play is dictatorship as a type of bad leadership, the form of evil leadership in Africa. So, in fact, it is believed that one of the ways of changing Africa is if we can change our leadership. The kind of leaders that we have, who don't take advice from anyone, who don't listen to the citizens, who claim that they know it all, or who oppress the people. Because that is what we see in this play. Now, before we move on, we have to look at the cast of the play. The cast of the play. The play has a large cast. I might have to write them down. Dramatis personae of the play. Okay? Cast. So in this play, we have Olaniyonu. He is also called Ajanaku as the tyrant king. As the tyrant king. Then we have Omoyeni as his wife. We have Iyaba, wife to the former king. Wife to the former king. Then we have the Guild of Hunters and Elders. We have the Guild of Hunters and Elders. The Guild of Hunters and Elders. They are, excuse me, Serubawan, Odejimi, Ogundele, Odebami, that the Guild of Hunters. The Guild of Hunters. And then you have Iyale, Odejimi's wife. You have Odekunle, Odejimi's son. And Desola's lover. Then you have Desola. Desola is Sorobawan's daughter. Then you have Yosola, her friend. We have Demoke, Sorobawan's wife. Then you have Yele, Lere, and Dele. They are young people, and they are Odekunle's friends. Then you have Delani, so Moyani's former lover. We have dancers, singers. We have guards and townspeople. That's the cast of the play. We'll give you the rundown again. The cast of the play, also known as dramatis personae, include Olani Yonu, also called Ajanaku, as the tyrant king. We have Omoyeni as his wife. We have Iyaba, wife to former king. That's Akinjobi. Then you have the Guild of Hunters and Elders in the persons of Sorobawan, Odejimi, Ogundele, Odebami, as a guild of hunters and elders that are the ones who decide who will become the next king. And then you have Iyale as Odejimi's wife. Odekunle is Odejimi's son and lover to Desola. And then you have Desola herself being Serubawan's daughter. Then you have Yosala, her friend. That's Desola's friend is Yosala, right? Then you have Demoke as Serubawan's wife. Demoke as Serubawan's wife. And then you have the youth, Okundele's friend, in the presence of Yele, Lere, and Dele. Then you have Delani, Omoyoni's former lover, whom Ajanaku forcefully took from him. Then dancers, singers, guards, and townspeople. Okay? So before we go on to look at the play, stage by stage, I will give you the brief story. I'll give you the synopsis of the story. As I said, the subject matter of the play is evil leadership. This play can also be called as villain drama because the main character is a villain. The play can also be called villain drama because the main character is a villain. The play is set in an unnamed African village that has a Yoruba traditional setting because of the language and the culture. And so because the author is from Nigeria, we can also say that it is set in Western Nigeria in pre-colonial times. But the fact that the play is set in pre-colonial times does not mean that it does not mirror contemporary events through the device of historification, where you use distant events to talk about contemporary issues. That's historification, right? So when the play opens, we have the Guild of Elders and Hunters having a secret meeting and the subject matter of the meeting is how to make Ajanaku king. Ajanaku or Olaniyonu king. The meeting is summoned by Serubawan, the evil medicine man. Serubawan is the villain in the play. He is trying to install Ajanaku as king when it is well known that Ajanaku is not qualified to be king because he is not the first son of Akinjobi, the ailing and dying king. Not the first son. Badarin is the first son. Okay, though he's a ghost character. Badarin is a ghost character because we don't see him. He's only mentioned as the first son, but he doesn't make any appearance. Okay? So he's a ghost character. And as it will be revealed later in the play, this Ajanaku of a person is not also the biological son of Akinjobi. He is actually the biological son of Serubawan. Serubawan had an affair with the younger wife of Akinjobi by name Adebisi. And the affair resulted in a pregnancy. But everything was wrapped up in secrecy so that the king, Akinjobi, would not know. And also, when Ajanaku was born, he was regarded as the king's son. Whereas the secret is shared between Serubawan, and Iyaba also knows the secret. Right? Iyaba also knows the secret that Ajanaku is not the son of the king, but is an illegitimate son born out of the affair that Serubawan had with Adebisi, the younger wife of King Akinjobi. But now he is presenting himself to become king by all means, by even bribing the guild of elders and hunters through Serubawan, his father. And one thing that is interesting in the play is that this Serubawan of the guy is also the personal physician to the king, to the dying king, a trusted person of the king, a friend, medicine man, and priest to the king. So we might even suspect that he has a hand in the king's inability to recover from the illness because of his ambition of installing his son on the throne so that he could have power. Okay, so that's how he gets to bribe some members of the Hunters Guild so as to enable Ajanaku, also known as Olaniyonu, to become king. To become king. Are you a member of this class? So, eventually the king dies, King Jobi dies, and Ajanaku becomes king. Another thing that shows how desperate Ajanaku is in becoming king is that he's ready to undergo any ritual. He's prepared to undergo any ritual. No matter how dangerous the ritual is to himself and to others around him. He's prepared to do that so as to become strong, immortal, so that nothing could harm him, so that he could become king. So eventually Akinjobi dies and Ajanaku comes to the throne. Right from his coronation, we see that we see that he is not going to be a good king. From his speech, because he sees himself as an elephant, Ajanaku, as an elephant, that he will crush anybody that will stand on his way. Right? He sees everyone as grass that he will crush, or tiny animals, which is a sign of dictatorship. And that is exactly what happens throughout his reign. He oppresses the people. For instance, he takes Omoyeni from his rightful lover, Delani. Delani had worked for Omoyeni's father, Ajasa, for many years just to be able to afford the wife. But sometimes in those days, you could work for a while, right? Work in the farm of your father-in-law for years, and after serving for that number of years, you could afford the daughter. All right. So Omoyene's father is a blacksmith known as Ajasa, and Delany works in his shop for years just to earn the hand of Omoyene in marriage. But when Ajanaku becomes king, one of the women that he seizes in the town is Omoyene. So he just grabs anyone that he wants for himself, and you don't have a say. Okay? Because he's a king, can do whatever he wants, and he can even kill you. All right? And another sign of his dictatorship, is how he decides cases. He's not a just king. A just king is somebody who looks at the cases that are brought to him and decides in favor of the person who merits that favor, who merits justice. All right? For instance, two farmers are quarreling over a juicy farmland. All right? And they bring the case to the king, Ajanaku, to decide who really owns the land. After listening to the case and seeing that the land is very rich, he appropriates the land for himself and does not even give it to any of the parties. Says, from now on, this land belongs to the royal, to the state, to the council, meaning himself. Right? So he's a greedy king, he's an unjust king, he's a desperate king, it's an evil king. Another instance that shows how Ajanaku is a bad king, the unjust king, is how he treats the Oguno people. How he treats the Oguno people, the people of Oguno. All right? The people of Oguno have been paying taxes or tributes to the people that Ajanaku is ruling. All right? So Ajanaku's land. Even during King Akinjobi's time. So immediately Ajanaku became king, he increased the tributes, the taxes, at will, even when the people could not pay. And now the people of Aguno is being, because you pay these tributes for protection. All right? You pay tribute for protection so that if something happens to you, this person that you're paying tribute to will come to your defense. It happens most of the time in the relations among nations. Now, when the people of Aguno are being oppressed, attacked, and killed by their neighbors, they come to Ajanaku and ask for his help. Ajanaku tells them, I cannot help you unless you pay the increased tax, the increment. So that is another instance that shows that Ajanaku is a bad king. And the people tell him how his father, in quotes, all right, used to be just, used to deal justly with them, because of course they believe that Ajanaku is King Akinjobi's son, but we know that he's not. Okay? So these are the instances that show that Ajanaku is a despot, all right? He's a dictator and an evil king. And then we have the woman, Iyaba. Iyaba is a thorn in the flesh of Ajanaku. She is about the only person who can stand up and tell him the truth. Right? Iyaba was the disgraced wife of King Akinjobi because they lied against her that she committed adultery. So they disgraced her and sent her out of the palace. When they realized that she knew the secret between Adebisi and Serubawan. So they ganged up against her, lied against her, and disgraced her out of the palace. But because she knows Ajanaku's secret, because she knows Olani Yonu's secret, she's able to tell him the truth all the time in the play. When you read the play, you'll see that she constantly comes to the palace. She knows, even though they lock all the doors, she knows where to enter because she knows all the secret passages. She will still come to the council and tell him the truth. That he's not the rightful king. Tell him about all his evil deeds. Okay? And warn him to change. So she represents an activist, the voice of activism in the play, telling truth to power, Iyaba. And he would take her effort to also rescue the other victims of Ajanaku in the play. Now, Ajanaku is interested in attaining immortality. So he goes into this rite, this evil rite that demands him to sleep with virgins so that he will gain power. There's a specified number of virgins that he has to sleep with before the rite is complete. All right? And the thing about this rite is that when he sleeps with the virgin, he takes the virgin's life. The virgin dies slowly while he gains more power, more health, and all of that. And he does this, maybe he has to sleep with like 7, so he does it to a certain number, like 6, and then he makes a fatal mistake. Remember that all these rituals are organized by Serubawan. All right? All these rituals are organized by Serubawan. They are done by Serubawan, the evil medicine man, to make Ajanaku's son powerful, whom they present to the world as the son of the former king. All right? So, Odukunle is in love with Desola, as we have seen in the cast. And they're about to get married. Remember, Desola is Serubawan's daughter. So one day, while they are on their secret lovers meeting in the bush, Ajanaku comes with his bodyguards and rapes Desola ritualistically. And after that, all is not the same again. All is not well with Desola because she's dying. And the marriage cannot go on because she has lost her honor. Okay? So, these particular actions bring an end to the evil reign of Ajanaku because the rape has affected Serubawan's daughter. So in the end, Serubawan commits suicide because he cannot stand what has happened. The fact that his own action has brought about his own destruction. That is what is called situational irony in drama. You do something to have a particular result, but the result you get is opposite of what you wanted. That's situational irony. Okay? You cannot stand it, so you commit suicide. And then, when Iyaba is aware, is informed about what has happened, he organized Odejimi's wife, because these are the people, Odejimi's wife, Demoke, are the ones who go to Yaba to plead with her to help them, including Odokunle and his friends. So they now organize themselves so that on the last day, when Ajanaku is about to attain immortality, they go to that venue and ritualistically take their power and life from him. Okay? For instance, Odokunle hangs a charmed item around Ajanaku's neck, and Desola asks him to take back her life. So she's going to live again, and Ajanaku is going to die, and there's going to be a new king. Perhaps the one that was meant to be king will become king. Badarin will become king now. And so that is how the play ends. And that is how most dictators end. They don't end well. They come suddenly, then no matter how long they reign, they will die suddenly and leave the throne. Okay? So we can call the play a tragicomedy because everybody is awarded according to their deeds. Let's look at the subject matter of the play. The subject matter of the play is dictatorial leadership in Africa and in Nigeria. We see this in the depiction of Ajanaku, who is an evil king who comes to the throne by force, through bribery and corruption, or through imposing himself on the people, through imposition of self on the people. Dictatorship is also seen in how he treats his people. He looks down on them. He's the greatest among them. All right? You can see that in the way this title is done. All these people are the people, and this is the leader. So he's trampling on them. See, these are people that he's trampling on. Okay? He's trampling on the people. The shoes represents the power of the dictator, and you see the people under his feet. So dictators don't see the people; they don't see this as anything. They simply see them as people that can walk on top of, climb on. All right? As they rule. So they rule by trampling upon the people. The dictators rule by trampling upon the people, and that's a scene in how Ajanaku behaves. Setting. The setting refers to the time and place in which a work of art is situated. So the play is set in an unnamed traditional African village that has a Yoruba origin. Okay? The play is also set in a pre-colonial period, though it mirrors contemporary events. The play is also set in pre-colonial period, though it mirrors contemporary events. Pre-colonial period is the period before the coming of the white man, or modernity. So if you read this play, you won't see cars, you won't see aeroplanes. You see people living in simple villages, simple lives in simple traditional setting. All right? And that helps us depict African culture and our way of life. All right? Except that the vision is negative because it depends. Okay? Or desperation to be a leader. Let us look at the plot. The plot of the play is in the middle of things. The plot of the play is in the middle of things. That's in medias res. In medias res. In medias res. And the play is set. The plot of the play is non-chronological. It's in medias res, non-chronological. The play begins in the middle. When the play begins, the old king is dying. The king of Kinjobi is dying. And we have people who are trying to be king after him. For instance, Ajanaku, who wants to impose himself on the people. And you know the rest of the story. Let's look at the themes. Let us look at the themes. The play has themes revolving around dictatorship, inordinate ambition, dictatorship, inordinate ambition, poor leadership, injustice, bribery and corruption, oppression of the poor and the less privileged. Oppression of the poor and the less privileged. Among the themes of the play are dictatorship, inordinate ambition, inordinate ambition, inordinate ambition, poor leadership, injustice, bribery and corruption, oppression of the poor and the less privileged member of society by the rich and the powerful, internal colonialism, the need to speak truth to power, the need to speak truth to power, the need to speak truth to power, resistance against dictatorship, and poetic justice, poetic justice. Poetic justice. The way the play ends depicts poetic justice, where people who do good are rewarded for their good, and people who do evil are rewarded for their evil. That's poetic justice. Justice according to what you deserve, what you've done. So, for instance, the theme of dictatorship is seen in how Ajanaku becomes king. How he oppresses the people of the land, takes things the way he likes without listening to advice. Let us look at dramatic techniques and style of the play. Dramatic techniques and style of the play. The play is written in transparent English. The language of the play is simple. The language of the play is simple. It is also rich in dramatic techniques and style. It's also rich in dramatic techniques and style. The play is written in appropriated and abrogated English. Appropriated and abrogated English. appropriated, abrogated English. That means English that has been changed by the writer to shoulder the burdens of its cultural environment. English that has been altered by the writer to shoulder the burdens of its cultural environment. Abrogated English is not the English that is spoken in England, all right? It is the type of English that shows sensibilities towards the new environment, like the Nigerian environment. You can do that by ignoring the standard rules, some of the standard rules of the language. You can do that by ignoring some of the standard rules of the language, by using indigenous words by way of glossing an untranslatable language. So mostly when you read African works, you come across glossing. Glossing is creative translation, where the writer uses an indigenous word like ekbe, ekbo, and then renders the translation in English in a creative way. You can say ekbo masquerade, ekbo the masquerade, that's glossing. So that the presence of ekbo in English is a form of abrogation or appropriation to make it have African cultural sensibilities. So once you do that, the language will be a bit different from how it is spoken in England, because you have drafted into the language lexemes from the indigenous languages. Untranslatable language is when it is not translated, it's not used like, it is just simply used like that without translation, so that the reader is left to know on his own, whether he knows or not the meaning. Whether he knows the meaning or not, the author is not interested. That's when it is untranslatable. All right? The play also makes use of African proverbs, adages, and other sayings. The dramatic techniques in the play include foreshadowing, irony, both verbal and dramatic, or even situational. Irony, you have it in the play. You also have allusion, suspense. Suspense is a very important dramatic technique in the play, because we want to know what will happen to Janaku at the end of the day, what will happen to Dusula, and so on and so forth. So suspense is an important dramatic technique in Once Upon an Elephant by Bosede Ademilua-Afolayan. Right? We also have Deus Ex Machina. Deus Ex Machina. We talked about this when we were talking about Ex Machina. When we talk about elements of drama. Deus Ex Machina, God from the machine, or God on the machine. In the way the final act, the conflict of the play is resolved, it is through Deus Ex Machina. We have innuendos. Iyaba speaks in innuendos while speaking about Janaku. He uses innuendos, hints or indirect hints, right? Indirect hints or suggestions that do not mention people's name directly, but the person that's being talked about knows that he's being talked about. Okay? That's innuendos. Then you have rhetorical questions. Symbols, motifs. Okay? indigenous words and expressions. So when you read the play, you come across many indigenous words and expressions, including Ajanaku, which means elephant or a strong person. Most of the rites, most of the rituals are written in indigenous languages, like Olubori rites. Olubori rites. Olubori rites. Olubori rites. Okay? We have words like Kabiese, Kabiesi, Kabiesi. That's Kabieyesi. We dare not question him. So when you have the notes, you can read all of that. But just note that we have indigenous words and expressions which help in abrogation and appropriation as an aspect of the language of the play. So the play is also rich in proverbs and adages. Most of these wise sayings are made by Iyaba. Most of these wise sayings are made by Iyaba. Then the elders also have their own wise saying. An instance of a wise saying is in Odukunle's statement, anger, our fathers say, is the brother of hopelessness. That's a wise saying. Dele also tells Odukunle that the snake that travels alone gets killed by the farmer. The snake that travels alone gets killed by the farmer. The snake that travels alone gets killed by the farmer. And why does Dele say this to Odukunle? When Odukunle was going to meet Desola in the bush, he did not tell his friends. And that was how his fiancée was raped by the king. While the bodyguards prevented Odukunle from doing anything. Iyaba says this: whoever wishes to die a decent death should live a decent life. Whoever wishes to die a decent death should live a decent life. This wise saying is to teach us not to be like Ajanaku, who is dying a disgraceful death because of the way he chose to live his life. Then we have foreshadowing. We have foreshadowing. We have foreshadowing. Foreshadowing is a statement, an action, or event that points to future occurrences in a work of art. Okay? The dream that Desola has before she's raped is an instance of foreshadowing in the play. She has a dream that the marriage did not take place because she couldn't sing the bride's song that she was supposed to sing. So that dream foreshadows the rape. Then we also have allusion. We also have allusion, or what we might call literary allusion, or literary allusion. We have allusion, or literary allusion. So literal allusion is seen when Odekunle tells that he does not want to join the other men for hunting, because the other men are going for hunting to have meat for the new king's coronation. That is Ajanaku's coronation. But he chooses to meet with his lover Desola instead of going hunting like the other men. So this is an inversion of what happens in William Shakespeare's Venus and Adonis, published in 1593. In this work, Adonis prefers to go hunting instead of meeting with Venus, who loves him. So that's literal allusion. Then we have dramatic irony. Dramatic irony, all these things are in the notes, so I'll share the notes with you. You can also go to the website to read the notes. I'll share it on the platform. So dramatic irony can also be found in the play. An instance is seen when Ajanaku is busy priding himself on being the father of the child that Omoyeni is carrying, not knowing that the child is Delani's child. But we, the audience, we know. He does not know. Up to a point, he does not know, but the audience knows. That's dramatic irony. The child that Omoyeni is carrying belongs to Delani, the former lover of Omoyeni, and not Ajanaku. But you could see how he's priding himself, calling himself a lion for having a child. That the child that is coming will also be a lion like himself. That's dramatic irony. Then we have situational irony in the action of Serubawan. Serubawan wants to help Ajanaku to become king so that he will become powerful. In fact, he's a king in hiding, the king in secret, because he controls Serubawan. Because he controls Ajanaku. Who is the actual king, which is what usually happens most of the time in African leadership. A set of select people usually front someone, all right? And while they stay behind to remote control the person cannot do anything except they tell him what to do because they put him there. But his evil action does not go well. The result is death, because he wants Ajanaku to do this right, to become immortal, but the right takes his daughter, Desola. All right, so that's situational irony in the play. So from now on to the end of the class, what we'll do is to take the play act by act. Okay, act by act. If you had the play, you had a copy of the play, you would have read it. But you should, since you don't have, we will do a detailed summary. You should be able to buy the play and read. I've already emphasized the importance of reading the actual work, not depending too much on the summary. So, in Act 1, Remember the play? The play is organized in 14 acts. The play has 14 acts and are named 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the end. Okay? So in Act 1, we have the stage direction. That begins the play and tells us the setting of the play, which is in a grove. A grove. All right? A bushy path. Bushy path. There is a metallic clinking of gongs and chants of Ogun. Ogun. All right? The tyrant king, Ajanaku, is seated in a stool, bare-chested. The tyrant king, Ajanaku, is sitting in a stool, bare-chested. Two elderly men stand by his side. They are Odejimi and Ogundele. Serubawan appears bare-chested and performs some rites. Ogundele and Odejimi are not comfortable with the rituals performed on Ajanaku, especially the Olubari rites, the right to turn a mortal to immortal. Serubawan is only interested in the gifts that the young king brings. The real king is alive at this time, but Ajanaku wants to be king. So that shows the desperation of Ajanaku. He does not wait for the real king to die before starting to plot his way to the throne. So Bawan thinks that the real king is weak and cannot perform his duties again because he is sick. So Bawan says he has done everything to make the ailing king well without success, which might not be true because of the circumstances of the play. He thinks that the ailing king is Serubawan's friend and patient. The name of the ailing king is Akinjobi. The name of the ailing king is Akinjobi. Ogundele says that the living king is sick but not insane, and that custom demands that he should still be recognized as king. Akinjobi is dying slowly. Nothing can bring him back. Nothing can bring back his own hand of time because his horse has finished his race. This is what Serubawan says to Odejimi and Ogundele. Akinjobi is dying slowly. Akinjobi dies slowly. Nothing can bring back his own hand of time because his horse has finished its own race. Serubawan says this to Odejimi and Ogundele. We have euphemism in this expression. Okinjobi's sun up there in the sky is about to set. Okinjobi's sun up there in the sky is about to set. That's a euphemism, meaning that the king is about to die. Okinjobi is about to die. Our culture knows no stagnation. This statement is made by Serubawan. But this is an instance of appropriation, all right? Because he's using this statement to justify he's trying to install a new king while the old one is not yet there. Our culture knows no stagnation. Serubawan uses this expression to justify his idea of letting Akinjobi die while preparing another person to take his place. So this is cultural appropriation for his own selfish interest. But Adejimi also argues that the Yoruba culture and civilization also rest on an order and structure. There's a procedure for doing things. All right? Ogundele says there are siblings whose senior Ajanaku and that due process should be followed in the emergence of a new king. Due process will be a democratic process that allows rules and laws to take effect in the selection of a new king, beginning with the fact that it is the first son who should do what? Be king. All right? The first son who should be king. Odejimi says that one person cannot determine who becomes king, as there is a council that performs the duty. But here we have Serubawan wanting to be the one to select the new king. When the selection is usually a collective process. Right? Serubawan counters that they, the hunters, are the kingmakers. Odejimi says that Okinjomi has worthier sons who could be king. But Serubawan reminds them of the gifts and favors Ajanaku has done to them in the past. Right? Gifts and favors are used as means to perpetuate oneself in the throne, on the throne. Odejimi says that the assistance that Ajanaku and Olayuni, that Ajanaku or Olani Yonu had done to them is enough reason for them to subvert the process of king-making. When you receive gifts from someone, your hands might be tied when it is time to take an objective decision about the person. So always remember that. Okay? Battering. Battering. Did we mention this name in the course of this class? All right? Did we mention battering in the course of the class? Eh? We said that Battering is the first son of a king, Akinjobi. He's supposed to be the king. Remember saying that he's a ghost character because though he's mentioned, he does not make any appearance. Right? So Battering, one of the king's sons, the first son, who should be king by rights. Battering. It is Odejimi that says this after Serubawan had exited. Serubawan had exited the place by now, and Odejimi says that Battering is the first son of Okinjobi who should be king. When he tells Ogundele that they must report the matter to the other elders, Ogundele says they can't because it won't be believed and that they are already implicated because they attended the meeting and took the gifts. When Odejimi insists that the people be told the truth, Ogundele says, how many people do you think recognize the truth these days? The truth. That sounds almost like a word we have not heard before. Okay? Ogundele is a bit complacent, but Odejimi is insistent on not allowing Ajanaku to be made king by Serubawan. That boy cannot be king when I am still alive. That is what Odejimi says. Olani Yonu, also known as Ajanaku, is nothing but a rascal from childhood. Olani Yonu, also known as Ajanaku, is nothing but a rascal from childhood. This is what Ogundele says to Odejimi. That means they know the character of the person, which means that he cannot be made king. Cannot be made king because of his character. Until we know why he suddenly wants our values twisted, we are clutching at nothing. This is foreshadowing. This is foreshadowing. It's a statement. It's a statement made by Okundele to Odejimi. Why it is foreshadowing is that it foreshadows the revelations that will be made later in the play, that Ajanaku is not the real son of Akinjobi, and that Serubawan has a selfish interest in trying to install him. All right? Okundele says that they should help nurse the king back to life. By that they mean Akinjobi. To stall Serubawan's plans, as no one can ascend the throne unless the king dies. They live without taking Ajanaku's gifts. That is the end of Act 1. Act 2. The stage direction puts the setting as a bush under a big tree. Desola, Serubawan's daughter, is seen standing and sitting at intervals. Odekunle creeps silently behind her. Odekunle is Desola's lover. He is Odejimi's son. He surprises Desola or tries to scare her. Says he's been feigning illness so that his father will let him stay home instead of forcing him to go hunting. Odekunle also reports that all the hunters had gone to the forest to get meat for the new king's coronation. That's Ajanaku's coronation. He prefers meeting with Desola to going hunting. And I'm saying that this inverts the story in Shakespeare's Venus and Adonis, published in 1593, where Adonis wants to go hunting instead of being with the person that loves him, which is Venus. All right? Desola says her father, Serubawan, has agreed for Odekunle's family to come and ask for a hand in marriage after the next harvest. So this is good news for Odekunle, who is happy that finally he's going to marry Desola. Desola says the meeting have not been a secret because Yesola, her friend, knows where they usually meet. She is the only friend of hers that knows the place. The two lovers can't wait for the time to come as they are eager to get married. Desola, however, says that she is scared lest something goes wrong. And Odekunle says, may Ogun forbid, meaning that these people are traditional worshippers. May Ogun forbid. Ogun is one of the gods in the Yoruba pantheon. So Desola tells Odekunle about the dream her friend Yesola had, and which she also had. Desola also had the same dream a few days ago. And I've explained that that dream is an omen and constitutes foreshadowing in the play. I've explained that. In the dream, she could not sing his Ekuniyawo. She could not sing, she could not sing her Ekuniyawo. Ekuniyawo. The bride's song, Ekuniyawo, a song to bid the parents of the bride farewell. In the dream, Desola forgets or could not recall this song, which was disastrous for the wedding. which was disastrous for their wedding. All right? Odekunle warns that if the seller tells the father about the dream, the whole marriage could be affected. He informs her of the crisis in the Hunters Guild over the choice of Prince Olaniyonu as the new king. That means there's an agreement among the king's makers, all right? And the crisis involves the two parents, Odejimi and Serubawan. Odejimi is Odekunle's father, and Serubawan is Desola's father. They are quarreling over the choice of Ajanaku as king. His father reveals that the new prince was chosen by Serubawan, not the elders. All right? So this, okay, let me take Act 3, which is not long. Act 3. The scene is in the village square. Act 3, the scene is in the village square. It is the coronation of Ajanaku or Olaniyonu. It is the coronation of Ajanaku or Olaniyonu. Ajanaku recalls his childhood and how the words of his father about his becoming king have come to fulfillment. Probably he's lying to the people. Note the signs of dictatorship in his words. But what exactly does an elephant do to creepers? That is, it could be the small animals or the grass, and thorns and bushes and thickets, and a whole forest of trees standing in its way. He tramples them. So that shows that throughout his reign, he's going to be trampling the people. Right? So this statement foreshadows his reign, that it will be full of manipulation, oppression, and repression of the people. There's also another sign of dictatorship. We will not follow in the footsteps of our predecessors and our weak approach to resolving issues or resolving matters. That means it's not going to be like Akinjobi, because he sees Akinjobi as a weak king. All right, he wants to be a strong man, Ajanaku, an elephant that crushes everything. That's another sign of dictatorship. Note how the people rejoice by saying Kabiyesi without questioning the king's words, which means we dare not question him. From this speech, Odejimi sees the new king's speech as a declaration of war. And that is how Act 3 comes to an end. So from tomorrow's class, we will take the remaining acts